with any ideas. From the Netherlands. So I'm from Holland. Oh, it says November, but actually it's not November. It's April 23. I gave a similar presentation in November, but this is different. This is new, so it's unique. And it's about design in business. Something that a lot of students kind of push away. They don't want to really get involved into that. And I also studied industrial design in Germany in the 80s, so quite a while ago. No computers, no internet, but the same question: what is design and what are we supposed to do if we enter into business? And what's the role of design in business? Frankly, I didn't have a clue when I was a student. I love to draw, I love to develop, design, do things, but what the role of a designer is in business and what the role of designers in business, I didn't know until I moved into business. I joined Philips, then a large company in 1990. I worked as a designer for 10 years and I moved into design management. So basically left my pencil on the desk and I picked up blank sheets, Excel sheets, and what I did is what no designer really wanted to do, is manage design. Because somebody had to do it, because it was about budgets, about resources, about coordination with others. It was about fighting with managers and marketeers. So a lot of stuff around design that designers really weren't really interested in doing it, and that's what I did. So, and then I also found out what actually businesses really want, what they want to achieve. And it was quite clear, talking to managers, that they wanted to have success. I actually wasn't really interested in success. What is success? But for them, success is in this picture. This is my school in Lucerne, as you can see. Every Monday morning, students are lining up outside the building and want to go in and to visit the lecture. Because in Lucerne, the lectures are totally full. I mean, there's like 1,000 students at least. I'm joking. This is obviously not my school. But imagine if it would be my school. Imagine in this room we would have 1,000 students. They would line up outside the street, way down, a kilometer, hoping to get inside. It would mean that we would do something that is really extremely relevant and wanted by people. So, and that is a signal of success. If you're really able to do something what people really want from you, in small and in large. It could be a small thing, you just help out somebody, someone says, oh, thank you very much. That would be a success. I have that a lot from my wife. If I clean up the garden, just thank you. And then I have success. In businesses, it means customers are really wanting that, what organizations are delivering. They develop a certain level of excitement and understanding. And this can also be in non-profit situations as well. Like, imagine the Red Cross and we need people donating to the organization or participating or helping out. The more excitement, the more participation, the more rewards, the clearer it is that the organization has a success. So it's not really what businesses say success is, it's really what the customers say it is. Now, these days, the business has changed quite a lot from when I started as a designer 30 years ago or more. Because we are really now moving into what's here called the experience economy, where actually a lot of businesses are not competing with their normal competitors, they're competing with other experiences. So last week I was at a conference, I spoke with a friend who was working at BMW, who was part of their design team. And he said, at the past we would just compete with Audi or with Volkswagen or with Volvo or whoever, but now we're competing with Netflix. I was like, interesting. Yeah, because it's about the experiences. It's what people really consider to be relevant. Cars are not so relevant anymore to a lot of people. But maybe Netflix is or other things are. So there are two things in this picture which are important. These two words here. It's differentiated and relevant too. And this picture is taken out of a book from Gilmer and Powell about experience economy. So if you want to really be in business and have success in business, not only that you have to have customers, we have to deliver customers something that's relevant to them. And we have to do it in a very differentiated way, in a recognizable way. Hey, look, this is them. It's not. Did you recognize my? So differentiation and relevance, these are the two words you have to memorize if you think also about design. What design is really doing. What is relevant to people? And how can I do it in a differentiated way? Now, if you want to have a business or an organization, as I said, it doesn't really matter, it can also be in school, you know. And you want to develop something relevant for your customers, there are two things that you have to do as an organization. On one hand, you have to understand what relevancy means. You have to create and develop a service or a product or a combination thereof. And you have to manage your resources, your organizations, whatever you have. So these are the two things that excellent organizations have to be able to do. You have to manage the capability of management and the capability of design. That's actually it. There's nothing more to it. And running a great organization. Management issues are quite clear, isn't it? We need resources, so we, like in this case of a school, we need rooms, we need chairs, we need a video recorder, we need lecturers, maybe, we need students. So we need a lot of activities that we have to put in place, control, secure, and make sure that they are there. And then we have to design. We have to create content that is relevant to students. We have to differentiate. It's us, not them, because we have to recognize where we stand for. With that, we have to become effective. So hopefully you guys will go back and say, that lecture, that's not so bad. Maybe, you should come next time and visit these sort of lectures, year round, because it has really an impact. Because we know that if we create impact, we also might create loyalty. People will come back. Maybe you will go out and mention it in your school to a friend or to somewhere else and say, this is actually a good school. Maybe you should consider studying here. Because it's worth it. So that's basically what excellent organizations are doing. Managing and design. Nothing more than that. These are the two fundamentals. And in good organizations, management and design are equally developed. They are strong on both aspects. You need both in order to run great business, isn't it? Now, this is also described in management literature. As I mentioned, I studied design. I worked for more than 20 years in industry as a designer and design manager, and then I moved into academia and also started my consulting activities. And over, let's say, 7 years, I ran a bachelor in design management, and then I moved from the design faculty to the business faculty. Because I thought, maybe I should start to understand what these managers are up to, and what they are doing. Because the business managers, they are in charge of management, they are in charge of the resources. They deliver us, like designers, the resources that we need in order to do our part. So why don't I check them out? So I moved to the business faculty, and I'm lecturing, also doing my research activities there. And then you get in contact with all the standard business literature, of course. Maybe you guys already have come in contact. There's this model from Michael Porter, called the value chain, which describes the primary and secondary activity of any organization. And Porter says that the primary activity of an organization is creating solutions, outcome. So it's producing a product, rendering a service, or conducting lectures in the school. That's the primary activity. The design activity is the primary activity. That's what you do so that customers can buy of you or use whatever you make. And then he talks about the support activities, which are needed in order to put everything in place, which is infrastructure, technology, procurement, it's actually management. So, in simple words, successful organizations are able to combine both of these and make this work together in a seamless way. So, this is the primary activity, this is what creates your outcome, and the product, the service, and this is supporting it so that it can take place. Now, if you do this in an excellent way, then the two are supporting each other and they create efficiency and effectiveness at the same time, so you can ensure the leadership position. This is where excellent organizations are. Now, if you're good in management and not good in design, you tend to be a controlling-oriented company. There's a lot of things outside. And they are excellent in management, but they have nothing to offer. They don't create an effect. So you can think of some banks maybe do this very well. They can control their business. There are also companies like this. Companies that really shape the place out there. They create brilliant solutions. Maybe displays, shaping individuals, but they're not managed that well. So they don't get traction. They don't have the resources that we need. They always are short of resources, so you need more. So successful organizations are those that can do both, not only one or the other. So even if you talk to a startup person with a brilliant idea and with super duper design capabilities, you will never achieve a leadership position if he's not able to manage. So that makes it also for us designers, that's a huge task. We have to kind of bring management into design and design into management. Now, these two things, management and design, are also at the same time two extremes. You could ask yourself, so why are you here in the design faculty and why are you not in the business faculty? Most of it, people say, I like this. I like to give form to things. I like to have my mind go wild all the time, free, invent stuff. I'm inquisitive. I like to find out stuff. I'm really, I think I rely on myself. I'm acting out of trust, and I think I can do this. So that's why I build furniture or build whatever, or make a drawing, or construct an interface, or program this, because that's what I want to do. I'm acting out of trust. I'm a developer, designer, and I need that freedom around me to do it. That's why that's it. And a lot of management thinking people are on that side because they say, I have to check out what I'm doing. I'm in for controlling what's around me. And actually, I'm not really sure, so I want to have security in place. So what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And people come managing this. It's because that's what's driving me. And in organizations, this is where this element is there. There's a tendency to either shift to one or the other side. A lot of organizations these days are on the management side. So if you come in and say, hey, what about this? You'll say, no, that's too dangerous. Let's stick to what we're good at. Let's sell more bank accounts rather than reinventing banking altogether. So the same applies there. A lot of people are totally into the design camp. They say, let's do this and this. They forget about the fact that sometimes you have to also control. So ideally, there is a balance between the two. Now in reality, that's not the case. These days we are totally dominated by management culture and management thinking in our society as well. You can see this, how politicians or the public sphere is dealing with all sorts of stuff. It's all about management. They have to use it, control and secure everything. And design, if at all, is a small marginal. Something that you do if you need it. Oh, we need a poster. Oh, let's go to a designer. But give him a small budget, we'll take care of it. But it's not equally valued. Not at all. And this is a big problem because it used to be different. When I was studying in the 80s and late 80s, the 90s, the 80s was all about design. All sorts of funky stuff that didn't work. And Philips was full of researchers and all sorts of inventors and designers, which meant in the end that Philips was losing money like crazy. And they had to get some managers in to get control of the situation, because otherwise they would go bankrupt. So it's not like that this is a default. It's moving back and forth. And sometimes management is dominating, sometimes design is dominating, but right now, management is dominating. Big time. So this is what an excellent organization would look like. Designing and managing are equally developed. They're very well balanced. So, and as you can imagine, design in this context is more than what we do. It's also including engineers, marketeers. They're all designers in that sense. Good. So this is what you need to do if you want to be successful. You have to adopt this idea of excellency. And I want to be really good. So let's develop the skills. Then you have to embrace both design and management. You cannot choose for one or the other. You have to go for both. And you have to constantly improve your capability in whatever you do. You cannot sit down. It's like a sports person. You cannot not train. No. If you ever come across a manager, ask him how often he trains. Training. How often he practices this skill. What? I'm a designer every day to practice. How often do you practice? No, I practice, of course not. I have an MBA. I've done it. So this is a challenge. You can challenge them because good organizations always are improving the capabilities, also in management. Now, that means that for organizations, as we've shown, the design is underdeveloped. So how can they develop this? And I've come up with these 4 points. So first of all, design is not what we think it is. Design is way more than what we think it is. Design is not only about form giving, design is also about functional design, relational design. So it's much more. And organizations have to connect all of these design activities. And then next to that, there are 3 other steps that we have to put in place. And I want to go through them one by one. And if you have a question in between, just good. So, what do organizations offer? And we talk about all the design activities. So, what do they design? You remember you've seen this picture of the primary function and creating a service or solution for customers. So, what do they design as a function? And this is again a model which I took from a business school from Potekal. That's about what the levels of a product. So at the core of everything that we have is a function. So the function of a school is education. And this is why you will judge maybe the core function of school. By saying, yeah, there's a user experience and the design is set up to provide this core function. So it normally is what a developer or an engineer or a designer do. Let's say this chair, the core function of the chair is to sit on it. So that's what we need, an engineer and a developer to design that core function. So, and then you have a chair. Okay, so normally we'll say we're finished. Now we can sit. But how many chairs do we have? Versions of chairs. Empty somehow. That's because there is a proposition. There is a customer, a user, a person that wants to sit in a particular way, in a particular context. And that's what we design as an organization, which is called a proposition, which is leading to a customer experience where customers can choose from a variety of options. Whether they I want to have this kind of feature because I also want to write while sitting. And actually I don't need a bolster because I'm a student. I have to stay awake so I don't want to sleep, so I need a hard thing. And this is where an organization designs for a fit to a customer demand. As you can imagine, the customers come in and say, I want it for my kitchen, and I want it for my bedroom, I want it for the kids' room, and all of these customer demands are then captured and turned into a proposition. I want a cheap chair, I want an expensive chair. This is all design. It's also designing. They're designing the relationship between the organization and customers. So the customers can buy the core functionality. Yeah, and then there's a last thing that's missing, which is very important, which is about the identity. So, where's this chair from? Who's making this chair? This could be indifferent, like in this case, I wouldn't know. Maybe it says somewhere on the bottom, I don't know. But there are certain manufacturers that want to make sure that their identity is represented in the product they create. So there's a brand, for instance. There's a logo on it. It's a Louis Vuitton chair or a Chanel or whatever. ALUO, you name it, an Apple chair. And we know what that would mean. It would mean that the customer has a brand experience, an identity is provided. So it's formal design. It's given form in an aesthetic sense that this chair can be understood as a product from a company with a particular identity. Then it can address certain customers because it has a customer experience to it. And then it has a specific function so that the customers can use it. So the user experience, the customer experience, and the brand experience, they're all designed. The question is, are they aligned, these experiences? So in excellent organizations, they are. It's like if you're always the same company is behind the design activities. So the brand from the outside, is radiating an image, an identity, a feeling, which then continue into the customer experience, which then continue into the user experience. So you always know that, oh, this is one brand, clear customer experience is provided, and the user experience is consistent and clear. It's following up. Now, this alone, in most companies, cannot achieve. Because, for many reasons, they create these three experience levels isolated from each other. Engineers developing the function, making the chair and calculates all the production in that level. A marketeer is doing some sort of sales trick. Oh, you can have this chair for 20 euros, blah, blah, blah. Buy two, get three, something like that. And then a designer or brander or whatever is shaping the chair to project a certain identity. Doesn't necessarily have to fit with the other two. Let's say experiences created. So this is often what we see. This is like a Pac-Man game. So marketeers are trying to get a customer, engineers are trying to get a user, brand and design people are getting to convince customers to stay loyal to the brand. This is, as you can imagine, a question, okay, so who's taking care of this? Who is going to bring together these three experiences so that they fit together? Who's going to do that? Good question. So ideally, this is going to happen. These three experiences come together and they create something that is more than just a sum of these three. It's really, harmonized. This picture is taken. Maybe you recognize this from your theory classes. This is so-called Gestalttheorie, and this is the English word. But this is the only, let's say, scientific fundament that we have as designers to base a lot of the, let's say, aesthetic measures that we take. This is funded on Gestalttheorie. So it's, we as humans, we immediately recognize such a figure as being outstanding and aesthetically pleasing. It's like symmetry or golden section. There are these things, where we physically perceive this. And this is what we want to achieve with design. It creates an effect. People say, oh wow, this is a company. It's not only you can see the identity immediately, you recognize it. It's consistent throughout everything. As a customer, I don't feel, treated differently. And as a user, I'm completely in line with everything I've experienced so far. So these things belong together. And so it creates a very consistent, maybe you've seen such a picture before, a consistent touch point experience. So these are all, they call it touch points. These are touch points where you as a person relate to an organization. Branding, so the identity, the campaigns that they do, the advertisements that they have, the information online or in the shop, the POS, the point of sale activities, packaging, installation, the product itself, the service, the upgrade, the disposal, everything is from one perspective. Now I challenge you, there are not that many companies that are able to do this. And so the question is, who's going to do this? Who's going to align all the design activities and making sure that everything is connected, playing into each other? Are these the designers? Should they do that? Or are these the marketeers? Or the developers? Or is this the management? The management is just taking care of the resources. So who is it from the design world, which is large, that's going to install this? I think it's an interesting question. You can think about that. Maybe it's in assigning clear roles. So who's doing what? Clarifying in the organization who's doing what in terms of design. So here again, if we look at design, and in this case we look at formal design, so the formulating part, you see it's everywhere in the organization. It's everywhere. We have it in R&D, industrial design, we have it in marketing, communication design, campaign design, graphic design, we have it in corporate brand design, everywhere. Design is everywhere. So if you are finishing your studies and you want to join a company or an agency, okay, well, observe where you will end, because it will be somewhere. Normally there is not a fixed function called design. It's very rarely in place. There are hardly any company around that has all its design activities into one organization unit. And so marketing and brand and design are often isolated from each other, and they work with each other, or maybe it's just transactional. As I already mentioned, design is an add-on. When you go to an agency, you have some design that help them out. They often run separate from the core of the organization. Also, design specifications, stuff that designers make, are often just a suggestion. It's also quite, I say that, sobering. You start to work at an agency or an in-house design department, and you make your drawing, you specify the drawing, you give it to an engineer, and he says, oh, thank you, okay, I'll see what I can do. And then you find out that he's changing everything. And you specify aluminium, and he turns it into plastic, and he paints it aluminium color. So it looks like I want an aluminium, I need a cold feeling. Yeah, sorry, you can't afford it. So, why did you hire me in the first place? So this is a bit of an issue. And then often also brand activities and design activities are separated. There's a brand department, there's a design department, and they don't even know each other. Okay, so these are, you can imagine there's a lot of unclear assignments. That's why this is a bit complicated chart. Looking at functions in an organization, and remember a function, the fit and the form. And so there's three areas of design. You can assign those to three organizational, like say functional design, so the design of the function is often the responsibility of R&D. They create the products and user experience. Relational design, marketing, and the fit, they create propositions and customer experience. And formal design is about design, right? They create identity, they create brand experience. So there are more and more organizations out there that organize design in this way. So there's functional design, relational design, formal design, and we make these functions responsible for parts of what they deliver to the organization. So in this case, formal design, which is us, we would be responsible for creating corporate identity, decisioning, value, visioning, principles in design. So this is who we are, and this is how we are. We are creating a principle, and this should be applied. So this is the design that often we talk about. This is not the design that we often talk about, but it's also there. So what we do, for instance, as an industrial designer, we are developing an identity principle, and then we help the engineers, supporting the engineers, applying that identity, whatever they do. And so if I have a chair and the engineer's task is to engineer this design and make it reproducible, we as a designer, we give it an identity, we give it a form. Now, of course, we do this in collaboration with him. So the engineer might be responsible for the functional specification, the designer is responsible for the formal specification, for identity. And having clarified these roles in the organization, and this is my responsibility, this is your responsibility. Of course, this is a management thing, but that's crucial. That's what we need to have. So clarify. So, are you responsible? Okay, I'm responsible with it. You're responsible for that. And then we can work out a collaboration model, which I think this is the simplest version of how to draw it, which you could install in an organization. Now, we know, and I mean, you all already know this, that this is not the case in most organizations. Most of the businesses do not have formal design, our design, which empowers. As I said, it's a specification. Oh, please make it in aluminium, and then you should all figure it out. So there is a lack of empowerment. And there is a lot we can do to change that. This has a lot to do with installing form of leadership for design. This is what we try to do with design management. So design management is let's say, a principle and a method to empower design in an organization. And the big question that we have, and this is what we struggle with, I also struggle with, also Mia struggled with, this morning we had a conference, is who is empowering design? Is it a management task to do this, or is it a design task to do this? Or is it entirely something different? We're not sure yet whether design management or design leadership is something that should be done by designers or whether it's another entity in the organization. I spare you all the words. But what it really means, in essence, is that we have to grow the capability of organizations to use design. And this is something that I've worked a lot with, also as a consultant now for a lot of organizations. Also, being now in the business faculty, you start to realize that a lot of people do not know what design is, do not know what formal design is, and also do not know what sort of capability they really need in their organization. So maybe you've seen this ladder model once, the so-called Danish design ladder. It's quite famous. Because what this model did, it described design capabilities on 3 levels. On, let's say an implementation or doing level, that is the work of the designers. We call it design as function. It's design doing, I call it. Then describe it also as a process, design as a process, which I call design thinking. It's really about how do we do this work, this design work, and then design as a strategy, which is much more fundamental. And the idea of this kind of step model, we call it the ladder, actually it's more like a step model, is that these are difficult levels to achieve. Yeah? The more you go up the levels, the more complex it gets, the more difficult it gets. So it's not something that you can just install, you have to really develop it. And the research done behind this, there's a lot of research done. McKinsey also did a great research 4 years back. Value of design. If you're really interested in such stuff, you should read that paper. And the research shows that this design as a function is actually not really the problem, it's really this, and of course also that. And that the more businesses are able to use design on these levels, on strategy level and on process level, the more successful they are. Makes sense. If you're more capable, you should become more successful to a certain degree. Because it basically means you have stronger identity, your outcome is more coherent, and therefore customers will grow a larger bond with your activities. So I turned this model into this framework, which has these words here on these different levels. So there's the doing part, the thinking, and the being part. And as you can see, it starts to describe capabilities that are needed in an organization. So you need to have professional designers. You need efficiency in design, because that's very important for an organization that it's done efficiency. But at the same time, you need to have organizational know-how in the design team. The designer should know what the business is doing. So if you want to design a chair, you should know how a chair is made, and how it's produced, and also how it's sold, and how it's advertised. That sort of stuff. Then about the validity. So design specification should be valid. So if a designer says, okay, steel and wood, it should be steel and wood. That's the identity. Resources, prioritization. There are many of these aspects that you can start to look into and consider and think, hey, is this available in your organization or not? Is there a clear positioning? Is there adherence to brand guidelines? Is everything following the guideline? So behind it, so this is an assessment criteria. So I can go into an organization, even a small one around the corner, and say, do you have a clear positioning?
Yeah.
Show me. Wait a minute. And then maybe you find some, a little statement done by a branding agency. I'm company XYZ, these are my values. Okay, that's okay. So you have a position. Is everybody adhering to your positioning? No. The sales is doing something totally different. R&D is not even aware. So you can start to assess the organization, whether they are design mature or not. And these are all activities that we designers need to be put in place for our activity to really, create impact. Yeah, so that's what I did. I asked this year, I asked 57 organizations in Germany, in Switzerland, and I did 2 deep dives with 2 companies. Miele, kind of big household company, and USM, which is a furniture company in Switzerland, small, but high-end furniture. They do this nice steel furniture, these cabinets. And this is the outcome of my study. So these are the average scores on the assessment of design capabilities. Now, the score goes from -100 to +100. So that's the scaling of the score. Right? So -100 is like absolutely not, just like forget all about it, and nothing is in place. And 100 is all green. So 0 means somewhere in the middle. Now, this is the interesting part. Since you come in, so this is the current outcome of my study. And you can see it's all red and minus. So those 57 companies represented here, in their assessment, they all say, no, we're not capable of design. If at all, maybe there's a bit of know-how, and there's a bit of prioritization. Compliance, absolutely not. Harmonizing design activities across the company? No, sir. Clear positioning? I don't think so. Well, you can pick anything. And you can see that also in the consolidated areas, like quality of implementation, not really. Authorization. That's okay, so that's no. Is this the design community that is failing, or is it management that is failing? Because this is still the open question. Is it us? Do we have to fix this problem as designers, or somebody else? Personally, I think somebody else. I think you are not to blame. It's not, and this is clear from the research. There are other lessons learned. I don't have to spare you the details. I think somewhere this year the report will be published, and also I will publish in English later, so you will catch up on it if you're interested. But it's quite clear that in terms of the role and tasks of design, which I also acquired, nobody really sees a problem there. I think designers are okay. You're doing a good job, you're a professional. The professionality is normally seen as okay, but it's the management of design which is not in place. And this is a big question, also in academia. Where do we develop the skill of managing design? Is it in the design faculty? Is it in the management faculty? Or somewhere in the middle, which is impossible because there's either, you have either the design faculty or the management faculty. It's a different problem. So designers are okay in their core function, but designers have to improve their organizational knowledge and efficiency. I mean, it's quite clear that here, there was a lot of, even in the fundamentally, we don't know what the hell they're doing. Design is like a black box. We have no clue. So maybe that could mean that designers have to clarify how they work better, and also designers have to improve their knowledge and understanding of organizational work and where they work and how the business is working. That's one lesson that we can take about it. Then design management is absolutely underdeveloped, but it's also clearly not considered to be a designer's task. That was also out of the qualitative statements, you could see that a lot of business owners said, yeah, I cannot demand from designers that they solve this, their function. So, another interesting thing, design and brand have to be strategized and implemented together. You cannot split those two things as already is done in organizations. You have to bring them together. And overall businesses need to manage to design better. They are not capable. From Germany, there were some really known brands in there, like UL ALUO, not dodgy kind of third-class companies. So overall, you could say, if you ever wonder why nobody's taking design serious, then you know why. Because there's simply no capability in businesses to use design in an appropriate way. So simply have no clue what it is. And looking into successful organizations, like some example like Apple and others, they know how to do it. So that I have some top performance in my inquiry and some low performance. I don't know if I have this chart. No, it's another presentation. And you can see from the study that the top performers, which are all in the green, by the way, so the top 10 of the 57, they all have positive scores. And the low 10, which have dreadful scores, statistically you can compare these results, and then you start to find out what are the aspects that are really important that will differentiate the organization. And you can see that top performers are putting a lot of emphasis on design authority, on enabling the function, on making sure that there's validity. So this is why these scores here, they are results out of the statistic analysis. So these things, top organizations take very seriously. So you can imagine that if you do this at Apple, they would say, well, 100% compliance. Imagine, a designer or a marketer or a developer, and Apple says, I'll do the same. Whatever. Aluminium, no, do plastic. Imagine that at Apple. The guy can pack his bag and move. So, maybe it could be interesting for you if you look up, if you wait a bit and you grab the report later, you can see these questions that are behind these capability drivers. If you ever come in contact with business where they want to hire you as a designer or as a consultant or as an agency, and you think they're not really capable, you can challenge them. Maybe on one or two of these and say, what's around the term? How valid is my specification? Is it a suggestion? Because then I don't have to be precise. Like rough indication would be enough. Or is it a one-on-one specification that you will execute exactly as you would be doing? Because talking about efficiency, these two are related, as you can imagine. If you want this to be 100%, then this will definitely increase the efficiency because you're already doing half of the work of the engineer. So in the company that I work, there was a high validity of design specification. It means that the files of the designers, in this case hardware design, were also the final files for tooling. So you can imagine that it's totally different as if you just give a sketch and say, oh, make it look like this. Then of course, it's totally different. Yeah. So what does it mean? It means, I don't know, there definitely is also a Slovenian way of saying this. In Germany we say, wie man in den Wald ruft, schallt es heraus. Or in English, what goes around comes around. It's like, if an organization is lackluster and not serious, the customers will also be exactly like If you're not capable, your customers will also not be capable. If you're doing things like shushi, the customers will do exactly like that. That's an experience I've made over many, many years. So the capability that you have as an organization will directly influence how customers will react to what you do. It's like, if you run a restaurant. If you say, okay, let's throw it together, the customers will do exactly the same. Next time we'll do some more. If you put a lot of care, you can bet the customers will react. So there's a correlation between the two. They kind of feed into each other. So organizational capability, the better you are, the better your customer experience will be. Because in organizational capability, it's not only the capability to design, but it's also the capability to understand your customer, it's the capability to do great marketing, to have excellent communication, it's all of that. It's not only it's like in sports. If you train well, if you are very capable, like Potekal, as you mentioned, you win every race. Experience is tough. You're going to have success. Customers will react to that. So the potential that you build in your customers will increase. And what is the customer potential? This is customers that say, this is an excellent chair. Or next time I'm going to buy this chair. Oh, by the way, I'm going to recommend this chair to all my friends. Next time you buy a chair, you buy this chair. This is customer potential. Like in Apple. So, I talk about Apple because obviously I'm convinced. Otherwise I wouldn't mention them. That's also why I have all my devices from that company, and even my son works at Apple. So it's like, okay, so there's customer potential. That means that they can sell almost everything to me. And I will buy it. So in 2 years I will go back and buy my iPad. Maybe I could wait another 2 years. Why not? And this is what is success, isn't it? This is what the picture I showed you in the beginning. These are the customers lining up outside your shop because you are capable. And design capability is part of that. And so the capability in design, on the strategy level, on the planning and process level, and on the implementation level, this is leading to a great experience that you will have. And these are the things that we discussed so far, capabilities in design. If you're really capable to do this, you create absolute outstanding experiences. And then the customers will react to it. They will look at this and say, wow, emotionally, they will say, oh, this is a really outstanding design. I mean, look at this. Just a good example. Of course, it's not really outstanding. Look at this, I like that brand. They know how to do this. This is something I'm really attracted to. I can see it from a mile away. Emotionally, I'm excited. Then individually, and by the way, I can afford it. I want to buy it. It's actually relevant for me. I want to have it. It's exactly what I want. And then functionally, and it's even, supporting my use. I can use it for years. It's functional. I can rely on it. Now, this customer perception is known as the general reaction of customers to organization offering. There are many models describing this. This is one that I also created in a study, which is called customer impact score, which we derived and also studied on last year. And what we did here is an empirically derived measurement where we ask customers of a particular brand and how far the perception is regarding the functionality of what they see and feel from the company, regarding the individuality and regarding the emotionality, as we call it. Now look at these words. I mean, come on. We didn't invent this. This is empirically derived. So functionality is a consistent quality, reliability. Capability, the company is really capable. They can do whatever they do. They're reliable. They're transparent. And what they do is meaningful. Quite fundamental stuff at the basis. This is more where we think as designers are really coming in like effectiveness. This really supports me in my day-to-day life. It's relevant. It's exactly what I want. There's a degree of dedication and agility, and it's very I immediately pick up on. It's coherent. Everything follows a particular language, a pattern, and it's authentic. It stands out and it seems to be fitting. It's exciting and it's very engaging. So these criteria, again, I always like to ask what others think of it. So we've asked customers in Switzerland last week, was October last year. A lot of companies that just have an excerpt out of it. Some of them you might know, some of them you might not know. For ALUO, you know, maybe Nespresso, Galaxus, IKEA, maybe Credit Suisse. Do you remember that brand? It's not existing anymore. So when I published the result in the paper last year, this year, January, we had this on the bottom. And one guy from Credit Suisse phoned me up and he said, you cannot be serious. You know what's going to happen? I said, yeah, I can imagine because I've seen the result. You're going to be toasted soon, isn't it? He said, yeah. Wait and see. A month later, they announced the bankruptcy and now they're gone. So customers say, Credit Suisse, sorry, you know the functionality? Oh, sorry to say that. There's nothing there. And look at this, minus 75. Again, the score is the same. So minus 100 to 100. So 0 is the center, is the middle. So minus 75 on emotionality. Sorry, but there's nothing. This brand out there you will not know. It's a small insurer. And if you start to look them up and you figure out what their business is and how they run the business, you get the idea like, oh, that's a special. It's an insurance company. They're doing the business in a totally different way. And obviously we're doing it in a very interesting way. You can also see that Apple has a wide and interesting score. I mean, all of the scores are negative, except for these 3 figures. So customers have a really bad perception. Normally customers think that businesses are not capable. So, not only in design, but in general. I think that's a really bad picture. We'll see. I will do a new study this year and see how this will develop. But I think, looking at my own experience, I can follow this. And there's an interesting one. If you look at the averages here, you can see that functionality and average is minus 16, and then individuality minus 26, and emotionality minus 39. And it was a lot of differentiation, coherency, authenticity, excitement. Well, come on, guys. This is what we do with design. This is where brand comes in, where identity comes in, where customer centricity comes in. So, yeah, if you're not capable in design, you're going to create these sort of results. And there's only, and look at this is hard to read, but there's a pattern. For instance, SBB, which is the Swiss railway, has a very high score of functionality, it's ranked number 2, and then it kind of falls off slightly, as you can see. Minus 30 in emotionality. Yeah, there's no taking the SBB is not really emotional. It's like a trade. Nothing special to it. Which you can see with Apple, it's a different thing. Look, this goes up. Or TPK goes up. So these are brands that obviously understand what design can do to them. They are bumping the trend a little bit, because the trend normally goes its worth towards emotionality, and there are some brands that do this. Nespresso the same, Apple, and there are brands that do this kind of falling down. And then, of course, there are the losers like Credit Suisse. We'll just, and the next one that will go out of the market will be sold, and then we see Sunrise going out of the market. I can bet they will not succeed. Because simply they cannot convince customers. And customers are the, let's say, the signal of success. Customer engagement, customer loyalty. This is what customers say. So, yeah. And okay, this company, this UPS, was the other company that immediately phoned me up and said, what's this study? We don't want to know more, what the hell is going on. So, this is what design does, isn't it? It's about effectiveness, about relevancy, authenticity, excitement, need-based orientation, meaningfulness. So, there's a lot of these things that customers see in the result of business, where design really is needed, where organizations have to be capable in order to get a good, let's say, feedback from the customers to convince customers that they are on the right path, that they deliver something relevant and differentiating. Yeah, so this is basically what we have to do. Connect all design activities. So design is more than just formal design, that's what we do. That's also about functional design, it's also about relational design. So marketing, R&D is all design. We have to connect it. We have to assign a clear role for design and make them work together. We have to empower us, formal design, in these organizations, and grow the design capability. And I think, as we already discussed, this is a task for somebody in an organization that is most likely beyond management and design. I don't think it's really something that designers can do in this. So it's a leadership task, maybe. I don't know what you think of it, but I think the CEO or somebody in the leadership team has to really understand the importance of design capability and then grow this. Good. So that was my input for you guys. Something like yeah. Are there any questions or feedback or stuff you would like to dig in a bit deeper?
I have one question, yes. At the beginning it was said that society is focused on management rather than design right now. Do you think that event happened because of a global crisis in 2008? And if you maybe can predict an event that will turn this trend around?
Yeah, I think some of the events and some of the crises we have because of the focus on management. Sometimes you call something a crisis because you pay specific attention to it, isn't it? Same as in your private health. If you have this particular thing that's happening to you, you have a spot. Depending on your attitude, this can be a crisis or it can be just a phenomenon. It's very much the mindset you apply. I think, to my point of view, it all started in the 90s as a reaction to the really abundant 70s and 80s where anything was possible and you had all these colors and all that design. And when I remember that sometimes I thought as a kid, what the hell is going on? It's like all that orange, all that freedom also, which was really something that society needed. Maybe a counter-reaction came, and specifically in business, the phenomenon of the shareholder value came in. So that somehow some people started to look at, let's say, the gain they could get out of doing business rather than just delivering great solutions. So financial targets became more important than any other targets. I remember at Philips in the mid-90s we had a switch of CEO, and that guy was a salesman and he was obsessed with financial results. He didn't care about customers. He just wanted to make money. That's what he told the organization. I want to make money. And that's what he did. He sold all the parts that weren't really lucrative to him. And with that, we had Thatcherism and all this kind of focusing on the more rational, more controlled aspects of our life. Now you ask for a flip argument. Let's go back to the slide, if I can, if it's possible. Let's get through it. What will bring the pendulum more to the right? Because currently it's really over there. It can be a counter movement, because if you go back culturally, you see that this pendulum has been swinging all the time. You had the 60s and 50s, which were also very much in control, and then the roaring 20s, which were very much in design. So it's always been going to this and this most likely. I think it's humanity as a force that wants to leave after a certain amount of time, I think people want to leave this out of doubt area and want to go more in the out of trust. Because simply you had enough of it. After 10 decades or 5 decades or maybe 3 decades of controlling security, some people will say, come on, this can't be it. Let's go somewhere. Because today, we hardly put somebody on the moon. Like in the 60s, 70s, we could, because let's go. If you say that today, no, that's not possible. Oh, climate, whatever. There might be 1,000 reasons not to go. I think that in 10, 20 years, we will go again. Because simply because we need to counterbalance our society and our thinking. So I'm pretty convinced. The question is, will it stay there or will it move back again? So I hope for something like in the future, an event that people will accept that you have to embrace both of these realities. And I think this is the biggest challenge that we have in society, also in design, or in general, is that you have to do both. And you have to be, controlling stuff and be efficient, but also you have to be effective and embracing freedom. Both at the same time. This is really difficult. Also mentally to do. It's like you're in design, I'm not ready yet. But then somebody comes and says, but there's a time slot, and you only have 10 euros to do this task. It's difficult to bring freedom and control together, but you have to in the end. You have to do it in order to become excellent. So I think that's what it means. And I don't know about the event. It's a good question. What could be triggered? You say, maybe a real big crisis, like the ship needs an event, which we are on the brink of that. It's like if the war explodes, if this turns into a third world war, maybe then you start to scratch your head and say, maybe I feel a different thing.
Jan-Erik, I have a question. How does this correlate with the size of the companies? You have this Philips background.
Yeah.
We already talked about that average size of steel companies are rather mid or small compared to Europe. I think it has to do. I don't have a clear question, but I imagine that with bigger size, with more silos, is even a bigger problem.
I think you have a bigger chance of ending up in that mindset, 100%. So I think with the larger your organization is, the more afraid you are of losing control, because it's just so big. And like, think of our countries. I mean, small countries, if you look at the world right now, the smaller companies are better off compared to the larger companies. Look at Switzerland, look at Slovenia. You have an upside because you're small. So you have a much more easy chance to adopt such mindsets compared to Germany, which is way too big. You can see the politicians in Germany just losing it over being afraid to lose control or being in charge of something, because there's no freedom anymore in that sense. So that definitely plays a role. But I also been in small companies, really small ones, like 100 people or so, or less, 50, where maybe this is a consequence of the situation around them, where there was a strong tendency to be still, acting out loud, controlling what's the organization doing, how can we become more efficient, where for instance the CEO would rather hire a consultant to become more efficient as opposed to hiring a designer to become more effective. So, and this is also maybe a crucial question: what do we need to be? Do you need to be more efficient, or do you need to be more effective? And a lot of people do not know the difference between those two words. Because this isn't it the same? No, it's not. Efficiency means to do whatever you do with less. And effectiveness means to do whatever you do with the biggest impact. So to create an outcome which you believe, So that's a crucial difference in approaching business. McKinsey and all of these people, they are great in achieving efficiency, and because they can take stuff away, they can save, you do it with less money, do it with shorter time, with resources, and then you are more efficient. You can achieve maybe savings in a shorter time. Being more effective, McKinsey cannot help you with that. They cannot tell you how to be more effective, to win customers, to be impressive, to be exciting. Sorry, McKinsey cannot do that. None of the consultants can do it. None of them can do it. They can only help you to be more efficient. So I think designers can help. But the question is, are designers recognized for doing this? And I think this is a bit of the problem. We need some sort of understanding in businesses that it is efficient, effectivity is really going to help them. Yeah, so it's a bit of a long answer, of course, to the question, and I don't know if I'll think about it. Another question? Maybe? Yeah, you have?
You have this slide with validation of different companies.
Yeah, the result.
Yeah, and I've been just like 3 weeks ago in Switzerland using the railways, which if you would put them in Slovenia, they would have a great score.
Yeah.
So how in all categories, emotional, functional, whatever. So it surprised me a little bit. The score of
it's an excellent score. I think in Germany the German railway would be way lower.
Yes, SBB is
Swiss.
Yeah. So this is quite a good score.
Quite a good score. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing a really excellent
So
job.
if you go to another slide where these SBBs, okay, it's emotional value is rather low or not.
Yeah, on SBB, yes. Sorry, that was the wrong one. Oops. No. Sorry, this animation will have to be fixed.
No problem.
Before I can go back. You mean this pattern that goes up here.
Yeah.
So SBB is considered to be very relevant and very essential, very meaningful. That's where they have the biggest score. So people say, I cannot do without the railway system in Switzerland. That's why it has this very high score in that area. And then in terms of individuality, there's nothing really that's, as a customer, you just take what you got. I mean, it's nothing to really choose from. It's one or first class, second class. That's basically some special arrangement. And then in terms of emotionality, it's still considerably okay. But if you see from 21 to -30, it's still quite a gap. So that means that emotionally, people are not engaged or excited by what they do. Which is, if I take the train a lot to Switzerland, which is true. It's just a transportation device.
But what then drive IKEA, for example, in this emotionality so high?
Go to an IKEA and you know it on the weekend. Put the kids in the jumping and the pedal bar, as we say, the ball, and you go and you have chocolat, the French fries, and you look, inspire yourself what to do, and you buy one or two little things. But it's an event, it's an experience. And people go there just to have a day out. And the IKEA is so knowledgeable in doing this that this is a result which is unbiased. So these are also people that occasionally shop at IKEA. But if you ask a real IKEA, loyal IKEA customers, the score is through the roof. Because my younger sister, she's an IKEA freak. Every 2 weeks, spend a day at IKEA. Because it's an event. You go there, you have small kids, you have them run through the place, so they understand. And the functionality, sorry, but that's not their strength. The furniture is not that reliable. It's also not what they promote. They promote emotionality. And individuality is actually also quite okay. You choose a lot from different options. That's where they're strong. And I think similar in Apple, that Apple's decent quality, but you buy them mainly because of the differentiation of the let's say the excitement that you feel being a customer. So it's quite different in the way customers perceive. This model is also researched in under a different name called Kano, the Japanese scientist who examined customer perception of products and services of companies. So if you're interested in going in that, I think for us designers, such models are really essential in showing to our business partners, whether we're an agency or whether we're in-house designers, how important these aspects are to customers, how important differentiation, authenticity, and so forth are. This is what customers really value. So you could also interpret this result is that this could also reflect not only the capability of organizations, but it can also reflect the demand of customers, that they are more critical on this than they are on this. And, oh yeah, function, okay. Individually for me, emotionality.
What are salad and sunrise?
Telcos.
Excuse me?
Telephone companies.
Okay.
Sunrise is a big international one, and Salt is a specific brand that they put out in Switzerland. I think it's a subsidiary of a French large telco brand. Swisscom, which is their national telco brand, is way better, as you can see in these. Yeah, so Sunrise people I also talk with now because they are not doing well. They are about to lose their existing market. So I mean, this is not bias, it's just on their macro panel, so every company has 200 customers online. So it's just honest feedback from customers. And if you ask customers, what do you think of this company? Are they capable or not? What's the impact they create on you? Just give you feedback. And it really has to do with design capability, not only the management capability. I mean, some of these companies are excellently managed below here. And some of them are really well managed. But, sorry, that's just one side of the coin. There's the money, the coin has what's it called? The side of the coin and the side of the head, the face, isn't it? And that, the other side, that's the design side. That's you have to manage.
How you can use, for example, this model that you created from advisory function. Is this, I mean, can you help this management? Is there a scenario behind what they need to do and how they can measure the change?
Absolutely. So I think what a lot of companies are realizing is that efficiency is not the only thing to look at. They have to look into effectiveness. So they're looking more into this sort of measurements where customers are providing feedback on the effect that organization is generating. So this would be things from customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, or in this case customer impact, different measurements out there. And out of this result, you can go back and say, okay, so if these are the impact criteria, what are then the driving capabilities that we need to build in an organization to get there? So these are the design capabilities that you have to develop. So you can assess those and say, so how good are you in this? And this is what I did in this study, is to assess the capabilities of an organization and find out, okay, so how well are you doing this? And this is irrelevant whether you're small or large.
Sorry, I was a little bit late. Could be this corporate level translated as a strategic level, for example, or not?
This would be the strategic area here. Because strategy you also do on an corporate-wide means on leadership level, on the level of decision-making, so to say, where you say these are really stuff that you are doing on let's say, leadership and directing level, resource allocation, liability, prioritization, adherence, positioning. And this is more the technical level, at the process level, or it's more technical, where you say it's really about the mid-level, and this is low-level, maybe organization execution. These three are here, just doing, thinking, and being exactly corresponding to these, which you know at a design level. So this is, you create this kind of map, which has 2 dimensions. Organizational maturity versus functional or design maturity. So this is the maturity that you need to build in design, from implementation up to leadership, and or strategy, we also call this strategy. And this is the organizational maturity, so from execution to process to quality. And then, I mean, a lot of organizations do quality assessment, or EFQM as they call it, European Forum for Quality Management. Is a kind of standardized approach to assess companies and how good they are. So I might visit them and say, you know, why don't you assess design quality? Why not? You assess all sorts of things. Why not assessing the quality in design, and then maybe you can improve the way you work with designers. You have better briefing, better resources, better processes, better whatever, better strategies put in place, better positioning. Because I find it astonishing that in the design field nobody is talking about this sort of capabilities. It's as if it doesn't exist, but it does exist. Because we see it in the results. Yeah, so this outcome, this is the average of this study that I did, the 57 companies. And I have, as I mentioned, the top performers and the low performers are really far apart. So there's a big difference. So there are low performers that have really low scores. Basically, they say design and you have an agency.
But sorry to bother you all the time. You really big companies.
Yeah, it's a mixture of big and small companies.
Which are small. Did they perform, or do they have
a couple of hundred people maybe? Okay. There's one company that is a manufacturer of, because they approached me, and for most of the companies I know, because it's a secretive part that I know, and there's one company, they are manufacturing office supplies. 100 people, you know, somewhere in the middle of Germany. And they really wanted to know this because they think, you know, we are not differentiating enough. Our products are great, but nobody's paying attention. And we simply do not know how to improve on that because the agency, we don't know how to read them. And then they come with something and we don't like it. So there's a real design problem. So they also did this, and their score is not very high, of course. But I also have big companies like Adidas. Score is also not so good. And then there's companies that have a very mature score. So it really depends. It's not that you can say that large companies have better scores than small companies. I don't think so. It's really a mindset, of course.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. You have to go. We have to go. What is this? Print from here. Nice. Oh, that's and you're baby. So this is it, and this is a promotion. So if I'm loyal to your organization, I will carry this, and if not, I will. Thanks a lot.
And it's the first time I appreciate what you guys are doing. I mean, I understand.
Yeah, you start to get it now.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you.